I've got so many podcasts to recommend to you. Let's go. I'm going to start with fiction, which I think is an underloved genre, and recommend to you The Bright Sessions. This podcast started a few months ago. It's about a therapist for people with kind of otherworldly or supernatural abilities living in this world. It's really, really great. It has great acting, great character development over time, and seeing the plot come together is like, oh, I love it so much. There's probably 15 or so episodes out right now for you to binge, and they're coming with season 2 soon. Similar sort of creepy podcasts include Limetown, The Message, and The Black Tapes. Meanwhile, in the Future is also really good. It sort of takes, like PBS Idea Channel run by my friend Mike, it says like, here's a crazy idea, let's kind of jump into this fictional universe for 10 or 12 minutes and give you a kind of sampling, Twilight Zone style, of what that would be like. And not fictional, but if you do like the sort of creepy podcast genre, I recommend Lore by Aaron Mahnke. It's really, really well produced, nicely scored, great audio mixing, sort of tale of the creepy and the supernatural and urban legends, that kind of thing. My next category of podcasts to recommend are ones that really make very, very good use of the form. So the fact that you are downloading this file or streaming it, and it's like you with your headphones listening to someone give you a message. And so I think the best podcast of that genre, which I recommended before, is Radiolab, which is amazing. It is the standard for podcast production, in my opinion, going through scientific or kind of human interest stories in a really inquisitive, family-friendly type way. And then there's Sidewalks, which are like 1 or 2 or 3 minute long podcast episodes. The idea is sort of, if you're walking down a city sidewalk, each square of the path is a different like audio vignette. So they are really beautiful. I like to listen to a whole bunch in a row, and I recommend that as well. Speaking of cities, I also really like There Goes the Neighborhood, which is a special sort of BBC style limited, run podcast by WNYC, my local radio station. It's about gentrification in Brooklyn. It is a really good sort of like 360 view of an issue. A podcast that takes a similar sort of view of a subject is Someone Knows Something. It's out by CBC Radio, Canadian Broadcasting Company. And it is a reporter going back to his hometown to report on a missing child case from 40 years ago. It sounds a lot like the sort of true crime podcasts that we know of already, like Serial being the biggest example, but it is just really human, and it's really small scale. It's not like this is a big issue affecting the entire country. It's, one family and one town and one reporter's relationship to this myth from his upbringing. It's in the middle of a series right now. It is suspenseful without being overwrought. It is really beautifully produced in like the beautiful kind of rural Ontario. You can hear the snow crunching and dogs barking and, kind of wind whispering through the trees. It's like a really nice little vacation for my ears as I listen to it in the mornings. And if you just want some crime stories that are also reported with an empathetic kind of human-focused way, try Criminal. There's a whole list of Other People's Lives podcasts, ones that sort of focus on an individual or a phenomenon amongst many individuals and really just tease out like what it is like to live in other people's heads. There are way too many to list verbally, so I'm going to put them in the description. There are podcasts that provide a peek into a world that I don't participate in but am sort of related to. So one for the media is called On the Media by WNYC, one of the oldest, I think, radio shows that we have in the city, and they just take a really kind of ethics, big picture focused look at journalism. And even though I look at my phone and I'm like, oh, I don't want to listen to 45 minutes about the Supreme Court, I do want to listen to 45 minutes of these people on the show talking about the Supreme Court, so it's really, really good. There are podcast news podcasts, there are entrepreneurship podcasts, then there are a whole bunch of interview shows, of course. Most of these interview shows I'll only listen to if I like the guest. I subscribe to something like 90 podcasts in my app, so I can't possibly listen to, so many hours of audio a week. Finally, if this isn't enough for you, there are also lots of newsletters and podcasts that recommend other podcasts, so I'm going to put a whole list of those in the description as well. In the comments, please let us know what podcasts you love that you think we might not have heard. And come on, folks, subscribe to Spirits in iTunes. See you tomorrow.